Apologetics Week, the week of March 16th to 21st. 3 shows per day, over 30 world-renowned apologists, shows on the deity of Christ, biblical doctrine, culture wars, Islam, other false religions, and world philosophies. Our guests include Alex Karimli, Christian apologist, Anthony Rogers, Christian apologist, Dr. Bill Warner, political Islam, Dr. Edward Dalcour, Department of Christian Defense, Dr. James Gauss, patriotic and Christian worldview blogger, Dr. James White, Alpha and Omega Ministries, Kamal Salim, Qum Ministries, Nani Darwish, former Muslims United, Tom Trento, the United West, Reverend Tony Costa, Christian apologist, Usama Dakdok, the Straight Way of Grace Ministry, Waleed Shubat, former PLO terrorist. Again,
and hello, good evening, and we are live here at the Trinity Channel Studios, and you're watching us live here, and it's March 6, 2015, the first Friday of the month of March, and we'll be on our show live from now until 8:30, so glad to have you watching our program tonight on the Trinity Channel. I'm Chris Conway, and we're excited to bring to you another 90 minutes of programming. We're glad that you're a part of our viewership tonight, and we're really excited to bring forth a wonderful message. And we have an awesome guest in our studio tonight, and I'm going to have you say your name because I probably don't know it well enough. But
that's okay. My name is Naharayan Anwiya.
Nayan Awiya.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how'd I do?
Pretty good.
Okay,
Yeah.
Need a little more practice, I think. But it's great to see you, and we were chatting a little bit before we got started tonight, and tell us a little bit about yourself, and what would you call yourself as far as your title or your responsibility, and why would we have someone like yourself on this program tonight?
I'm not too formal. I mean, I'm an Assyrian American activist. I'm Christian. I'm originally from Iraq, and I was born in Iraq, and I've been speaking out on behalf of our people from the Middle East who can't speak out because of the persecution. So I try to voice their feedback as much as I can publicly, and just to let them know that we can hear them and that we are working for them every day to try to get their questions answered.
Great. That's phenomenal. And it's safe to say we need more people like you to be out there speaking up, period, but specifically speaking up for those that need to be represented properly, for those who are not able to help themselves, to those that need help. Certainly so many people in the Middle East, and that's really what we're going to talk about tonight as we delve into the topic, liberation for the Assyrians. And we have, certainly it's not just the Assyrians, but there's so many. What's on your heart right now as we're thinking about the snapshot in time right now, just this week alone, or this time as we're going through, what can people do as we get started with this program? What's your main focus, and how can people help, and what's the focus? What's on the hot list of things that need to be done?
The hot list is, the Assyrians and fellow minorities that are constantly being persecuted in Iraq and Syria, even before ISIS invaded in June, is that they truly need a safe area. The Assyrians, including our Chaldean churches, the Syriac churches, we're the cradlers of civilization, tracing back to almost the beginning of Christianity, and long before that. We're about almost 7,000 years old. And we just need a safe area, an internationally protected safe haven. We are actually looking to help our military. We have a military that's formed. Their name is the Nineveh Plains Protection Units, NPU. We're asking our administration to please support them and whatever you need in the budget for this year to include them, instead of just, we're not asking to not support the other militaries, but also include this military that consists of indigenous people. And just please don't forget us in your laws to protect the Christians in Iraq. They truly need immediate intervention because we are running out of time, and we are devastated to report not only are we losing lives there, but we're losing very ancient historical sites. They recently, I'm devastated to report that they recently destroyed the winged bull, the Assyrian winged bull, the city of Nimrod, you know, and that was just right after what they did to the tomb of Jonah. I mean, they're destroying site after site, and these are irreplaceable, priceless areas that are historical. They're in our history books, they're in our Bible, they're everywhere. They're in museums, and one of the largest historical museums in the world in Mosul was attacked by ISIS, and these priceless thousands of years of old artifacts were destroyed, and they were recorded and broadcasted, and the world stood still. And we're just, you know, as the indigenous people of Iraq and Syria, we're just wondering why the international communities have not rose up yet. You know, we're constantly hearing that they're working on things, and you know, we have lobbyists that are working diligently every day, and we're not being heard enough. They need to immediately intervene. This is an emergency. This isn't something that we can prolong any further. There needs to be action taken immediately in order to save these people from complete annihilation. And I've had several historians tell me that. They said, Naharian, truly, if there isn't a solution implemented soon, your people will be annihilated. There will be no more Assyrians of Iraq and Syria. And all of our churches, the Chaldean churches, the Syriac Orthodox churches and Catholic churches, the churches of the East, our churches have kept us together because since the destruction of our empire over 2,000 years ago. So without our churches, where will we go? Without a safe haven, what will happen to our people? Since they're already destroying all of our history, so what's truly left? The few millions that are left in the world that will assimilate eventually. So that's what we're afraid of. We're just, hoping for people globally to hear us, especially our American brothers and sisters, because we truly need immediate intervention, as in our lifetime, as in this year. It really, ISIS needs to be, taken care of, because there's not much more time we have.
I want to just leave right now and do something,
Thank you.
You're welcome. But I think, what would you say are some obstacles to getting things done, and what would you say what can we do to overcome some of those obstacles?
The obstacles that we're facing is, a lot of people are trying to buy time, and they're not understanding the severity of ISIS. They're not understanding how fast they're working and they're destroying. I don't also believe they understand the importance of saving the indigenous people. I'm not sure if they understand what indigenous truly means. If I heard there were indigenous people being completely annihilated, not just attacked, but annihilated as into the last one, I would do whatever I can possibly do to stop it, especially when they're almost 7,000 years old. God has kept us around for this long, and in our lifetime, in 2014 to 15, this has been happening. When the Holocaust had happened, we had told the world that this will never happen again. It will never happen again, especially in this day and age. And it truly is happening, except this is a different kind of Holocaust. It's happening to the Christians of Iraq and Syria. And I truly, as an Assyrian American, I am asking, my fellow Americans, my fellow Christians, people of all faiths and all ethnicities to rise up together, united against this beast, because if we don't unite together against this, if we don't demand action from our administration and the governments in the world, then there won't be any solution.
Okay, so you said the word demand. Okay. Who do we talk to? What type of process or what path do we take to not only get their attention, but to have some action get
I would say to call your congresspeople, your congressmen and women, and to ask for the support of the envoy for the Assyrian Christians including our Chaldean and Syriac churches and the fellow minorities like the Yazidis. So to support this envoy, to protect them, and to support our military there that are not funded by any governments internationally, including the government of Iraq. We are literally establishing this military to protect our people from our own money, from the people of the Nineveh. And you know, can you imagine trying to build your own military just from your own pocket? It's extremely difficult, especially when we don't have the support from the U.S. yet and the government of Iraq, which we really need urgently.
Why? What does the U.S. government say when you make the request?
Last year, the NPU wasn't fully established yet. We were still working on it. This year, they are. So they truly don't have an excuse this year to be included in the budget to fight terrorism and ISIS. There's a budget annually for that. And the funds were given mainly to the regional northern government and the Iraqi central government, and nothing was given to the indigenous people of Iraq. So we're just asking to please be included in that. You know, people from all over the United States can call their congressmen and women and to demand help for the Christians of Iraq and fellow minorities, to ask them where are our tax dollars going to fight terrorism when it's right there, concentrated in one of the oldest cities in the world, in Mosul. You know, they've been there. We had a chance to take them out, and we didn't. And this is becoming an issue not only for the people there, and I've said this, you know, nationally on the news too, it's for everyone.
Everybody.
You know, this is an ideology that's spreading to the world, and it's being recruited by many people, and that's where there needs to be an immediate intervention, because this is growing much larger than anyone could have ever imagined. You know, they're recruiting monthly, and that's very scary.
Right, it continues to grow. It's not settling down.
No.
It's if anything, it's growing. I don't know what the word would be, but just so fast, and we react so slow.
Exactly.
And I don't know. It's just a matter of, is it ignorance? Is it apathy? Is it comfort? Is it, oh, that's so far away? Oh, I don't know anyone out there. That's their problem. You know, all those reasons. I'm too busy. I don't have time or money to do anything, and I don't know what to do anyway. And I feel like we'll say those things now, but later, when it's too late, we'll have said, I wish I fill in the blank. I wish I did something. I wish I knew. I wish I made an effort. Now look what we have. And I suspect you can see it coming if we don't make some type of change.
Yes, absolutely. In Iraq alone, there are about 3 million displaced people, and in Syria about 3 million. There are about 6 million displaced people in between the two countries, and that's not just, you know, Assyrians and Chaldeans. That's like including all the minorities and you know, some Arabs, and they're just displaced in that many. And a lot of them have actually also, they're passing away. We're losing a lot of the seniors and the children, the ones that can't handle these types of conditions, to be without their medications, without food, without water, clean water. And these people, they were, you know, I want people to understand globally that these people weren't living in, you know, in the dirt, in a cave, you know, on the streets. They were living pretty decent lives, you know. The majority of Iraqis and people in Syria, they're pretty well off, you know, they're decent, they had a decent life. And, you know, imagine, like, my parents take heart medications and diabetes medications. These people have been without medications since June, you know, and they're slowly, these children are dying, they're extracting all these diseases, you know. We were looking at some of their videos and their tents, and, you know, when it rains, just the water flows everywhere in the mud. And there was a young girl and her two brothers. They were so cold that she actually dug up a hole from the dirt. She dug a hole and she laid in the hole, and she covered her siblings with dirt to keep them warm because they didn't have any clothes. And, you know, they literally left their homes with the clothes on their backs. They didn't have anything because they're so afraid. They were so blessed that they didn't get to them. And that's why they were happy. You know, they were crying because they were so happy, even though they didn't really have anything. They were just like, wow, it's like God picked us up and put us in a safe area in northern Iraq to keep us safe. You know, even though they literally lost everything. They lost all of their businesses, they lost their homes. You know, when they walked into your home and they knew that you were Christian, and they would, you know, if you were lucky, they'd let you leave, and then they would take everything from you. They'd take your gold, your money, your whole lifelong savings. You know, a lot of our people had a lot of gold there that they kept. They took all that. And, you know, they just ran out and on foot north, you know, with their kids. Yeah, some woman had a kid here, other one holding onto her side, running as fast as she can, you know, to get away from them. And, you know, a lot of women were actually not lucky enough to do that. They were taken. And there's actually a lot of women hostages, and they're using them for sex slavery, and they're selling them for as little as $20. You know, they're being traded off between those savages. And it's horrible that it's happening to our brothers and sisters. And, you know, this has been going on since June.
But Islam is a religion of peace. Right. Okay. We do have a couple things going on as you're talking. It's fascinating, by the way. It's sad, of course, it's very sad, but it's amazing. There's a multi-level chess game going on, a war-like chess game going on, and a lot of us aren't even aware of it. A couple things are happening. We do have a caller on the line, and I also know that we also have connection with Dr. Bill Warner, who was calling in on Skype. So I don't know what we want to take first, but we're ready for anything. Our technician is handling all this in the behind the scenes, and we're ready to take the call or to be in touch with Dr. Warner, whatever you want to send our way. Bill Warner? Oh, the caller? Okay. Hello, who are we speaking with tonight?
Rick.
Hi, Rick. How are you? What's your question?
My thing is, has the American, what do they call it, civil rights movement been taken over by the Muslims? Like when they killed the 2 New York police officers, and then he committed suicide. It was his signature that he was a Muslim. And are they trying to take over the civil rights movement? You know, like they're leading Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson ain't said nothing, like very, very little.
Okay. A lot to digest there.
Yeah, I was just Jesse Jackson, Reverend.
Correct.
And nobody's saying nothing. They're letting Muslims take over and ride down there in Ferguson. They're doing most of the fighting down there when they was having the riots. They was the ones doing the destroying.
Rick, any comments?
Network.
We're talking about the what's going on in the Middle East. I appreciate your energy and enthusiasm on those topics. Any question for our guest here about what's happening in the Middle East?
Muhammad killed people back 1,500 years ago, cutting their heads off. These guys are just doing what Dad said. You know, like how when you was a kid, if your dad smoked cigarettes, you smoke cigarettes. Dad cut people's heads off. I'm cutting people's heads off.
Yeah,
that's the only thing they're doing.
It continues to this day. Well, Rick, I appreciate your comments and thank you for watching our show. And we're going to go to a break right here, but thank you so much for your enthusiasm and your commentary. And we're going to take a quick break here, and we will be joined eventually by Dr. Bill Warner. And so glad to get through this first half hour. It's kind of flown by here.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Stay with us and continue to make that note of that number, 248-416-1300. We'll be taking more calls. We'll be right back after this brief break.
Apologetics Week, the week of March 16th to 21st. 3 shows per day. Over 30 world-renowned apologists. Shows on the deity of Christ, biblical doctrine, culture wars, Islam, other false religions, and world philosophies. Our guests include Alex Karimli, Christian apologist; Anthony Rogers, Christian apologist; Dr. Bill Warner, political Islam; Dr. Edward Dalcour, Department of Christian Defense; Dr. James Gauss, patriotic and Christian worldview blogger; Dr. James White, Alpha and Omega Ministries; Kamal Salim, Qum Ministries; Nani Darwish, Former Muslims United. Tom Trento, the United West. Reverend Tony Costa, Christian apologist. Usama Dakdok, the Straight Way of Grace Ministry. Waleed Shubat, former PLO terrorist. Again.
And we are back, and things happen quick around. We've already added another guest in our studio, on our set here, and it's Darwin Giles.
Correct.
Is joined Nakareen and I. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and we do have also Dr. Bill Warner online on Skype right now. So we're going to go right in. It's starting to be a party here. So who wants to join the party? You can call us at 248-416-1300. We're ready to take your calls. Dr. Bill Warner, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Excellent. You may have caught some of our conversation earlier.
Caught it all?
Not at all? Or
Caught it all.
you caught it all, okay. I think I'm going to have our technician bring up the volume a little bit more, but would like to interject, let's say this past week with all the things that are going on. Every week there's a whole series of things that are happening in the Middle East. Any interjection or commentary on what you've experienced or what you've seen happen this past week or in the past few weeks or so happening in the Middle East?
Well, events in Iraq seem to be heating up, although they seem to be quite hot anyway. I would like to make a comment about the lack of response to the suffering of Christians in the Middle East. And I would like to lay this at the doorstep of the churches in America. I did a radio show today, and a man called in who was a minister, or actually had Facebooked something, and it was complaining about Netanyahu, and I basically said to him that, you know, you have a business to be taken care of, which is to care for your own brothers and sisters, no matter whether they're in your own zip code or not. I says, why don't you tend, instead of putting your energies to complaining about Netanyahu, into standing up for the suffering that's taking place of your brothers and sisters in the Middle East? What I find, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, which calls itself the buckle on the Bible Belt. And the reason for that is there's a lot of churches in the South, that's called the Bible Belt, and Nashville probably has more churches per city block than you'll find in just about any other place. The problem with these churches is that they're self-centered and don't have any eye towards the suffering of Christians around the world, and they even join in with Barack Obama and deny that this suffering is caused by real Islam. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I think that I've had a program which I've tried to get started and never has gotten started anywhere, which is, because no one wants to pick up and run with it, called Voices for the Voiceless. Because tonight when we hear this young lady speak, I want to cry, but I also want to just rage, because this has been so predictable. It's been coming along in such a way, and like I say, I lay the blame at one of the blames at, of course, we have Islam itself with its supremacist ideology, but also we just have to, I think, we've not done the groundwork for compassion in this country, such that people don't understand the events that are going on in the Middle East. And so anyway, I just have to speak to this issue, because here in Nashville, Tennessee, churches just don't seem to be able to get their head around the fact that suffering is going on. It's not only in Iraq, it's in North Africa, it's in Egypt, it's in Nigeria, it's in the Sudan. And yet, again, I come back to this point, the churches in America are pretending like everything is fine, they just need to build a new latte bar or something in their church. I know this seems a little harsh, but I tell you, this is what I see around me, is that the churches will not engage the problem of evil. And it is a problem of evil. And it seems to me like the churches are commanded to do this. I never meet a Christian who says, well, that's not our job. But I do meet them who say it's not our job to understand Islam. And yet Islam is the cause of all of this problem. So that's my unpleasant 2 cents worth.
Harsh or not, it's true. And sometimes the truth is hard to accept and hard to want to embrace, and hard to, a lot of times hard to defend, or we don't want to defend it. We have it all too easy here, and we have certainly if we would accept the challenge, there's certainly a lot of things that need to be done.
I'll give you something that could be done. Why is it that in Nashville, Tennessee, we have the refugees from the oppressors, Muslims, and yet why is it that at least in our refugee system that a persecuted person, in this case Christians, would not go to the head of the list? And yet what we have is CARE, the so-called civil rights organization of the Muslims. I mean, they're bringing in Muslims with a 737 plane load. And where are the Christians? We're bringing in those who are harming and not those who have been harmed. This is an example of politics that needs to take place. And it is the church's fault that this is not taking place. Who else should not be insisting to their congressman? I mean, I talk to churches and I say, have any of y'all ever talked to your congressman about refugee Christians? And they look at me like, well, who would ever thought of that? I tell you, a great judgment is going to come down because of this. This is not trivial. That's what I say.
And I'm unfortunately, I'm in that group. I haven't contacted my congressman either. And I might be more aware of it than most people. So what is it going to take? I think I'm just so used to. Go ahead.
I don't know, but when I listen to this lady, I mean, I deal with Islam and the suffering it causes all the time. And here's what I say. It is not that Islam is so strong, but that we are so ignorant, so afraid, so organized, and hence we are weak. And I say that a Christian should be strong, and a Christian should be fearless. And yet what I see in Nashville, Tennessee, is I see a lot of beautiful churches. They've got every comfort. Sometimes I wonder how too much comfort. Yet, why do we need another coffee bar when we have people who are digging in the dirt to stay warm?
Right. Absolutely. We were saying earlier that.
Oh, and by the way, when I speak like this in Nashville, Tennessee, I am condemned as a bigot and a hater.
I would say you are compassionate and on fire with love, really. And it's to have us take some kind of action.
He says, you are an unpleasant old man who frightens people.
You know what? Go with it. I think you're going to make some impact. I think you are making impact. We did have a little trouble with some of your communication there. It seems to be clearing up now. So we're going to, but
even
yes,
just to
sure.
add to that, it's time for a real revival of the church. And understanding true believers are always those who are going to be concerned about the persecuted in the body of Christ, and especially going against the status quo. And speaking from a person who was very involved politically, you would be surprised at which senators you may contact who may not even want to hear your story. We have to start at the local, even the presidential elections, of electing Christian conservatives and individuals who will stand up against the tyranny we're facing right now, the radical Islam, and the local and domestic threats that we have right here within the U.S. So it's very important that we understand we have to go against the grain right now. It is against the status quo to talk about these things and be well educated about these things. Well, that's exactly what we need to do. We need to be informed, we need to be educated, and we need to stand up for our Christian convictions. And American traditional values are what we should support, and support candidates and political figures who are going to stand up for those values.
Okay, I'll take it a step further. Let me ask you this. So, okay, being aware, wanting to do something,
Correct.
you know, and desiring to take some kind of action.
Correct.
What do we do?
Well, it starts at the grassroots level. We have to strengthen and promote these values and bring awareness to these issues. Even this interview right now is a start. And from there, you have to identify with the leaders, again, that are political, definitely going against the grain. You have to, right now, buck against the status quo. You have to get informed, you have to make others informed, and you have to reach out to as many people as you can, whether it's social media, but at the grassroots, really making sure we have the right message and campaign going. In order to do that, funding the correct projects, sending money to support candidates who are in political figures who will stand up for these things. Gary Glenn, we have quite a few political figures that I know that will take a stance against those things. Dave Ijema, you have quite a few, myself, who are in the political arena and who will make a difference. And so those individuals, we have to be able to make a stand. We have Reverend C. O'Brien. We have quite a few leaders who are willing to stand up and stand against those anti-godly behaviors and the issues that are going on around the world are affecting us right here at home. So we can make a difference.
Okay. I mean, would you want to add on to any of those?
Yes,
Any
absolutely. Darwin's definitely correct about that. You know, we need to support the right people. That's been our mistakes in the past, you know, as in supporting the right candidates, the right Congress people, and the right, you know, funding the right groups in the Middle East. You know, we've constantly funded the wrong groups, and they turned around and backstabbed us, just like what's happening right now and what happened with Al-Qaeda. We need to support the right people. And I must say, as an Assyrian American, you know, we're constantly forgotten in the Middle East, and we're the indigenous, the natives of Iraq and Syria. So what we've been demanding and what we're asking for is our safe haven, our province. We deserve at least a little province in an area that we've inhabited for almost 7,000 years, and that they're giving us a hard time about. You know, or funding our military, helping to fund our military. That would be an ally to the world, you know, especially because of our beliefs. You know, we invented those cities, that entire region, the cradle of civilization. We engineered it. We cradled it from the bottom to the top, and now we're thrown to the side. We're refugees in our own country. And, you know, we're crying out to the United States, who's been heavily involved in the politics of Iraq and Syria. We're crying out, especially the politics of Iraq, please help us. We're down to the last one standing. And, you know, I see a lot of funding going towards the Kurds in the north and the central government. And we're caught in the middle. And even our last biblical historical city of Nineveh, that's where all the Christians were living. And that they took away from us. That's what we had left, and they took that away from us. So now that we're displaced in millions, and you know, even myself, being in the United States, my parents migrated to the United States because we were persecuted in Iraq. We were living like second-class citizens, and that's how it started, you know, being able to speak your Aramaic language freely. That was not, you know, favored very much. And, you know, just hearing about them, removing our books, you know, treating our schools without respect throughout that country, and, you know, being able to speak our language freely is not happening. That's how it all started. It's ethnic and religious cleansing, and this has been going on before ISIS invaded. And that's why we need the United States to step in and say, you know what, enough is enough. The governments of Iraq made mistakes. We all made mistakes. We need to fix what we started. We need to fix what happened, and fund the right people, help the right people. It's like building an ally. You know, Assyrians can be a tremendous ally in the Middle East. You know, we can't be infiltrated just because, not only because of our faith, because we're the homeowners of that country. You know, I feel like there's constant turmoil in that country because there's a lot of settlers, there's a lot of invaders. You know, they're fighting for that area. They're, you know, for greed, for the oil, for the uranium. And we're sitting there, we're just like, oh gosh, we've just had over 120 churches that have been detonated, leveled, and we're thrown to the side. It happens so fast. You know, I mean, everything is happening so fast, and you know, everyone's not really thinking about the indigenous people. You know, I always tell, you know, my fellow Americans, like, what would we do if some invaders came into the United States and started slaughtering our Native Americans? Exactly. What would we do? You know, till this day, the Iraqi government and the northern government of Iraq have not gave any support to the displaced people. And how much money are they producing in oil revenue? Nothing. These people, they're literally being supported by the churches and by the people themselves. Nothing by the government. They're thrown on the streets with nothing. And that's another strategy of a genocide. It's not just beheading them or mass slaughtering them, it's also displacing them. Just like I'm displaced, just like all of our people are displaced all over the world, we're slowly assimilating. You know, I'm thankful to be in the United States of America. I'm proud to be an American, but you know, this genocide started happening a long time ago. In the early 1900s, a lot of people don't know this, but we lost 750,000 Assyrian Christians. They were just slaughtered, you know, by extremists then. And we lost 1.2 million Armenians. We lost 550,000 Greeks. We lost 220,000 Yazidis. That was in the genocide that happened, you know, not too long ago. It's literally, this is happening again on our 100-year anniversary. We're suffering another genocide. And the world is standing still again. You know, when you think about it, we wonder, in my day and age, you know, I always wondered, how did we allow 6 million Jewish people to vanish and the entire world stood still? But then now I understand, just like the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, how did we allow it to happen, even though it was meant to be? But how do we stand still and watch these people literally get crucified, get slaughtered in hundreds? You know, these kids, they're taken from their mothers at 4 years old. What can you do with a 4-year-old girl? You know, these savages are taking them, and God knows what they're using them for. And we're just standing here telling them we're working on things. You know, just stand still. We're working on things. What are we working on exactly? These airstrikes are not doing anything. You know, they're affecting them slightly, but again, they're not. That's not a way to combat this extremist group that's so powerful, so highly funded. Why aren't we looking into who's funding them? You know, can it be one of our allies? Who's funding them exactly? You know, things need to change. I believe that these things that are happening will mark our history books, and we will remember forever. We will remember who stood still and did nothing, and we remember the people who helped us. And this will be marked in every history book in the world.
If we're around to read our history books.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if Bill's still on the line with us or not, Bill, but if you are, certainly would, you know, you feel free to chime in. But in the meantime, were you going to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to say, and it doesn't help having ungodly and unchristian President Barack Hussein Obama being in office, who has favored our enemies and have caused tension and division with our allies. And going to and helping create a plan and quick enough in the whole Syrian situation is of great concern personally for myself. But having the type of leadership that is not and has proven throughout his leadership tenure to not support the Christians in that area is just devastating. And it's one of the main concerns that I've had with bringing and making awareness of the anti-American agenda that has been pushed through Barack Obama. So that's very important that we know that is the political headship now that is helping bring that to pass, as far as the slaughtering of the Christians and so many other things in those areas in which we could create a quicker plan and we could do more. And it does matter currently with who our chief and commander is here.
What happened this week might not be directly related to what's going on based on what we're talking about tonight, but when Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, spoke and Barack didn't go, Obama didn't go, and many Democrats didn't go. You know, I keep hearing, oh yeah, Israel, we're with you, but
it's a lack of support, and that is exactly the type of efforts that we're talking about. When you see Commander-in-Chief in America has always had allies with Israel and just the Christian allies globally, and when you don't have that support, it stands out. And it is something that is not American. It is something we don't stand for, and it's not supported biblically. And we need to make those actions, those inappropriate actions, aware. We need to expose those actions as much as possible.
I definitely agree. You know, just like the vehicles that ISIS are using, you know, all those Toyotas, where are they coming from? They're in hundreds and hundreds brand new vehicles imported right into there. Who's giving them? Who bought those vehicles? You know, and we just really need to start investigating, and we need to take our investigation on a different level. And you know, we definitely also need, you know, the good Muslims in the world to stand up with us. Also, you know, they're the majority in the Middle East. And you know, we have the president of Egypt, the king of Jordan. They, you know, when their pilot was burned alive, he got into that plane, into the jet, and literally started bombing ISIS himself. And that's the type of leadership we need, that if your people are being slaughtered, you know, our American soldiers, you need to get stand up and do something, especially when, you know, Iraq has been worked by quite a few different countries. And anyone that's been involved in Iraq, you know, as an American, I'm telling them that they are responsible. They need to be involved. You know, the security breaches that happened in Iraq, you know, I heard information that Iraq was invaded by only 400 ISIS soldiers. 400. The 400 increased to 10,000. Now in Mosul alone, there are over 20,000, about 50,000 in Iraq, and it's constantly growing by the month. So, you know, things like that. How did we allow something like that to happen? You know, we trained the Iraqi military, and, you know, for those types of things to happen, that should have never happened. For a country to almost be taken over by an extremist group, almost the entire country, some of the biggest cities. Mosul's the second largest city. How did this happen? You know, why aren't we seeing our administration pay closer attention to this threat that is a threat to the world, not just to the Middle East or the United States. This is a threat to the world. They're exporting a lot of oil. You know, they're in control of how many oil wells in Iraq. They're constantly exporting oil. Who's buying that oil? You know, these kind of things that are not being investigated, we need them publicized. We as the people need to know what's going on, and we need to know why these people are not being helped. And, you know, we need an immediate solution. I'm really fed up with that. We're working on it. We need to see things with our own eyes.
You just touched on a very important point, because if you remember when Barack Obama was running for president, well, one of his main positions was to pull out of Iraq. Was to pull out, and because of pulling out and decreasing our military in Afghanistan and all these surrounding areas, it helped to destabilize the area, in which I wasn't in support of that. But those are the type of decisions and political decisions that are being made that helps create. I think David Woods and I did a previous interview where we discussed these are the type of environments that are necessary for terrorists and to come in and take over, especially Iraq. That environment was strategically placed that way. It wasn't something that just happened overnight. So it was very critical that we maintain the support of that area and continue to secure the area and strengthen our allies there, so that this situation would not have happened, at least not as strategically the way that it did. So now we're almost forced to go back in and do something.
And you know, another thing, President Obama, until this day, has not acknowledged us by our ethnic name. He called us ancient people. He said they're the least affected. Did he even study our history to understand where we stand with the country? You know, way longer than Iraq even existed. The name Iraq is a new name to us for as old as we are, almost 7,000 years old. When he addressed our country of the United States of America, we were addressed as the ancient people. He didn't even acknowledge us by our name when we're literally facing annihilation, when historians in the world are saying your people are being completely wiped out in this day and age, and we weren't even acknowledged by Assyrians.
Sad to say it's consistent with what he does every day, and it's hardly someone you can trust. We do have a caller. We do have someone on the line right now. Don't know the name, but if you're there, how can we help you tonight? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, we have our technician bring up your audio. What's your question? Hello?
The question is, there is on TV Assyrian American activist mistake. It's spelled wrong.
Okay, well, we appreciate, we could say that was a ploy to get people to watch and call in, but I think it was an honest mistake, but we appreciate that. Did you have another comment or a question? We'll make that correction eventually. What was your... If you don't have another question, we're going to move along, but what would your question be? I guess that's it. We'll have to check our spelling.
Yes.
So, so we come to the point where we have certainly know there's a lot of things that need to be done. And I've always often said that, you know, television is a great way to get a message out. Hopefully it's the right message, but it's passive. It's people watch and they listen, but we still have to make a decision as to what to do. And I think it starts with your heart. It even starts in the mirror. So I would say those who are watching, if you are passionate, if you are concerned, if you want to get involved, if you want to make a difference, if you want to make a step towards changing what's going on in our world, we would like your help. And certainly by watching this program and programs like this, this is at least a start. It's a way to get, bring awareness to yourself and to determine, you know, I understand there is a problem. But is a good method? I mean, I would say it's safe to say if you're a believer in the Lord, you want to read, you want to pray, you want to share this with your fellow Christians in your church, in your flock, in your neighborhood, in your community, those that you know. It might just be, maybe it's multiple churches, okay? Maybe it's a way of encouraging people to start to realize that this is a problem. It's kind of like weeds in your garden. It's going to get worse if you don't start taking care of what's growing. It's a horrible thing. The speed of growth in just 9 months or whatever it has been, less than a year, is amazing compared to our reaction to that growth.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay? And so are we going to let evil dominate? Are we going to let evil rule? We serve the Almighty God, who is truth, who is light, and anything but darkness. It's the anti-darkness, okay? He is God. He is, and we are believers in Him, and we accept the Lord Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, and we tell people about the Lord, and we want to lead people to salvation, and we want to live righteous lives. But that doesn't mean we keep it in our own community. It can reach out into the areas like we're talking about, into far lands where people are in dire need of help. And you know, we'll complain about the weather, and we'll complain about having to wait in line for a little latte or something. But when it comes down to it, there are people just barely getting by, without medication, without clothing, without food, without shelter, without hope in many cases. So you would think that average people that care about others and that live in this country would want to at least be informed and want to take some type of steps. Change your life. As you change someone else's life, you will be changed. You will become better. You will become stronger, and you can make a difference. And there's great opportunity. You know, I mean, throughout history, when there's great evil or great hardship or great difficulty, it's enough to nudge people to do something, to take some type of positive action, to overcome the difficulty because they know it's the right thing to do. And so, stop me anytime here, but you know, I know
Absolutely
as I hear both of you talk, it's just exciting to see that passion. And I can say all these things I want, but what am I really doing? What am I doing? You know, we're on the show, we're talking about it, and we have our own lives to deal with. But what can we really do? I mean, what steps can we start to make? Even if they're small steps, what kind of efforts can we make? I think awareness is certainly a start, but it doesn't end there.
Right.
So what would we say? We talked about contacting our congressmen?
Yes.
Or our pastors?
Pastors. Also, you know, there are humanitarian websites they can visit. There is www.assyrianaid.org. They're actually working on the hostage situation in Syria. They're as well working hands-on in Iraq. They've been, you know, doing this since the 1970s, so they definitely know what they're doing. And there's also www.theacero.org. That's THEACERO.org. And they're, you know, it's a church organization, a Syrian church organization, and they're just running out of resources as we speak. And they're, you know, trying to get as much as possible to help these people. There's helpiraq.org, and they're wonderful as well. You know, we have to, and these organizations are literally running on their own, and they're running out of resources. They're constantly saying that. I mean, when the UN is running out of resources, what are these NGOs supposed to do? And you know, they're trying to feed and clothe as many people as possible that are displaced in the millions. You know, it's a catastrophe. How do you aid 3 million people when you don't have the support of the government? And you know, I have to say that some of the videos and the people I'm speaking to, their faith is so strong in the Middle East. They were telling me this young girl, she was like 6, 7 years old. They were asking her, you know, what do you want us to do to them? What do you want us to do to those, you know, ISIS men? She said, I want you to forgive them, just like the Lord forgave us.
Wow.
That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. We could end the show right now after a comment like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true. I mean, that's amazing what they've gone through, and yet what they continue to cling to, know their faith and understanding that despite the horrible, because it is really, Islam is if you're in Islam, you might be attacking, and those that are being attacked are victims, but you yourself, if you're in Islam, are a victim of a lie, of a huge lie. There's no such thing as a God, Allah. It's a lie. It's not. There's only one God. There isn't like another God around floating around. It's the God, our God. Period.
Well, Allah in Arabic means God, but these extremists are taking what they believe is the only God, and they believe that, you know, we're infidels. They actually, a lot of our historical sites in Iraq were mistaken for idol worshiping, but actually, like the winged bull, that's just a historical site of an ancient civilization, or the city of Nimrod. You know, it was these buildings of the ancient Assyrian and Babylonian civilizations that they labeled as idol worshiping, but they don't even understand the concept of idol worshiping. That was not idol worshiping. Those were our cities. Those were our buildings. You know, we loved lions. Assyrians used to love, you know, actually they were the whole, the stadium, the Colosseum. We've been doing that long before the Colosseum. The ancient Assyrians, the way that they used to pick the next king, the kings, or the next prince, the kings, if they had multiple sons, they used to like bring in 3 lions, their strongest lions, against one of their sons, and he had to battle them. If he was strong enough to take his entire empire, he had to win against those lions. So we have a lot of sculptures of lions and the winged bull, you know, to symbolize our ancient history of what we used to do. And, you know, actually the Gilgamesh Games, you know, the Olympics, they get the idea from the Gilgamesh Games. The Gilgamesh Games were thousands of years before the Olympics took place. And that's where the Assyrians used to take their strongest athletes, and they used to have different types of games, and whoever were the most powerful used to get medallions. And, you know, a lot of the games involved lions. So those were, you know, and now they're destroying our history because they're calling it idol worshiping. What do they know about idol worshiping? We've been worshiping God long before they even thought about God. You know, we were right there when Jesus, how could they even deny Jesus? Because we witnessed Jesus. Jesus spoke Aramaic. We're his witnesses that he existed. His miracles were true. Everything that happened, we are witnesses to it. And, you know, that's just, there's a lot of misunderstanding. They don't understand what they're doing. And, you know, it really takes a lot. There's a lot of these extremists, too, that I'm hearing about that they're actually realizing, and some of them are wanting out. But it's like, it's too late. You joined an extremist group. How do you want out now after you've been involved in killing all these people? So they're starting to realize little by little, and I hope to God, please, Lord, make a miracle happen. Make them, there's so many of them, make them realize what they're doing to stop them all. Because I never thought in our time that something so horrific would happen. This is something that you study in ancient history between, empires
Sure.
before civilization. This is something not to happen in the year 2014 to 2015.
Right. It's horrible, absolutely is. We are going to take an opportunity to take a quick break here. We're on until about 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, so stay with us and continue to keep that number in your memory, 248-416-1300. We will be right back after this brief break.
Apologetics Week, the week of March 16th to 21st. 3 shows per day, over 30 world-renowned apologists, shows on the deity of Christ, biblical doctrine, culture wars, Islam, other false religions, and world philosophies. Our guests include Alex Karimli, Christian apologist, Anthony Rogers, Christian apologist, Dr. Bill Warner, political Islam, Dr. Edward Dalcour, Department of Christian Defense, Dr. James Gauss, patriotic and Christian worldview blogger, Dr. James White, Alpha and Omega Ministries, Kamal Salim, Qum Ministries, Nani Darwish, former Muslims United, Tom Trento, the United West, Reverend Tony Costa, Christian apologist, Usama Dakdok, the Straight Way of Grace Ministry, Waleed Shubat, former PLO terrorist. Again.
Okay, we are back, and we have the last half hour here of our program tonight on the Trinity Channel, and we do appreciate those that are watching. And even if you haven't called in, we would like to invite you to do that at 248-416-1300. I got to pick out what camera. I'm going to look over here. And I did want to make a note, if you've just caught the little announcement there, about our Apologetics Week, which is actually, let's see now, it would be 2 weeks from Monday, 10 days from today, which is the 6th, so it's on March 16th, and it runs through March 21st. That whole week, there'll be a whole series of apologists, Christian apologists that will be on our programs to talk about different things about defending the Bible and Islam and all kinds of things that are happening in the Middle East. And we have our experts that will be coming in to either be in our show, at our studio, or call in on Skype. So it's a wonderful time to learn what's going on, to get involved, to support our ministry here. We are a viewer-supported ministry, so we appreciate your prayers and also your financial support. And you can always call us at 248-416-1300. It's a growing ministry. We continue to have all kinds of exciting things happen. There's so much, and this isn't just a passing thing that we do. There's certainly all the things that we're talking about are based on real occurrences, real happenings, things that have been occurring, that are things that are developing. There's a weekly or daily news program that we do here. So this program, this ministry, this network is very, very involved with what's going on. The founders are from the Middle East, and most of the people that work here, except for someone like myself, are from the Middle East. And I must say that it's been a blessing for me to be a part of this ministry, and I'm excited to have it grow. So people, talk about the Trinity Channel and call us up and invite your friends and invite your enemies to watch the program, because there's so much going on. Push the other stuff aside, all the other things that can distract you and keep you away from what's really important. To focus on serving God and defending faith, and being a part of this ministry is one of those ways that you can do that. Certainly get involved with your church, in your community, in your families, in your neighborhood, but do something. Take care of it. We have an activist here. I would say perhaps 2 activists in our studio today. And why don't you be an activist? Why don't I be an activist? Well, look at yourself in the mirror. Say, I am going to start to do something, and to take those steps and make an effort and make impact. Because when it's all said and gone, we're at your funeral, what do we want to be saying about you? Okay, we want to be saying good things. Okay, so make that impact now. Take those steps now. And you can do that by being a part of this program and learning what's going on, and have it be an information source to start to make a difference. And get your friends and family. You've got a whole network of friends and family, coworkers, people you go to school with, people that live next door. Talk to them about what's going on. This is a horrible thing. These things are horrible. And we're just sitting by. And we're letting it all happen. Oh, that's too far away. They speak a different language, a different culture. I don't know those people. Start to get to know what's going on. Okay, we have a caller, and we're going to take that call right now. Thank you so much. Who are we speaking with tonight? Hello?
Hello.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Raheel.
Raheel?
I'm Pakistani, but I am in America, New Jersey.
Okay.
And
Okay, great.
I want to share like ISIS is doing in Syria and Iraq, and the same thing we are facing in Pakistan. The Taliban, and now the Taliban are joining ISIS. The Shahadullah Shahid, the correspondents of Taliban, they say that we are to join to ISIS. So same thing, because according to me, because I grew up there, and 1 year ago I came here. So I see a big difference in our country and here. There is actually the ISIS and the Taliban, they are following actual real Islam, Islam of Muhammad. What Muhammad teach, they are following the same thing. So they are killing the Christians, slave girls, they are selling girls, and hating Americans, Christians, or the non-Muslims. As Quran says, Christians and Jews are pigs and monkeys. And they say, don't make a friend to the Jews and Christians. And even, I met many Pakistani Muslims here. And American Muslims are more radical than Pakistani Muslims. I go with them, their mosque, and they're preaching hate in American mosque. So I was thinking, oh my God, I'm here in America, and in America, they are preaching hate in the mosque, and they people hate American people, even they living in America. And they are living here, and they're hating America. And I'm thinking, jihad is already in America. If America will wait for that, so same thing will be happening in America very soon. If our government don't do any action, because they are following their Islam and they are in America now. Yeah, so I have a question about that.
Okay.
Because there's a liberal Muslim. They are saying if our government will, what our government should do that we can control the radicalism in America.
I'm not sure. Did you get that?
What our government should do to control the extremist radicals in America?
What do you think? Do
Me?
you have an answer for that question yourself, or?
Yeah, I want answer from you too.
Well, what I believe is, as an Assyrian American, my family coming into the United States, we would, if we came from a country that had completely different laws than the United States, we came to the United States to be Assyrian American and to abide by the Constitution of the United States. We would never attempt to change our laws here because evidently they've been pretty successful in the way the United States of America is operating in a very, very civil way. The atrocities that we see globally are not happening in the United States to that degree. You're able to go to school. You're not forced to do things you don't want to do. Women are not being sold for $20 that were held captive. And, we are blessed to have our U.S. military here and the Constitution that was created by our forefathers. So therefore, I believe any ethnicity coming into the United States of America shouldn't try to change our Constitution or add different laws or, their extremist laws that they have. They shouldn't even be considered. You're coming into the United States of America to abide by our laws here, and that's my personal take on that.
Did you want to?
Well, I just also would like to say concerning Sharia law, it's very important that our local officials and state and even national level officials pass resolutions against Sharia law. That is one of the most important things and hold more public forums concerning Sharia law because that is what governs the Islamic doctrine. We also need to inform more individuals of the doctrinal issues. There's a big difference between Christianity and Islam, as you stated earlier before. that you have to know that Islam is saying to go to war against unbelievers. It is specifically in the doctrine. It is doctrinal things that says you can lie to unbelievers, and there's a big difference. You know, our Bible in Matthew says that, you know, we should love our neighbor, and that it isn't God's will not one person is lost. And that isn't the same perspective. So I'm all for ethnic diversity, but not every culture belongs in America, as you stated the Constitution. 34% of the Constitution is drafted from the Bible. John Locke, the two treaties of government. Those are a founding work by John Locke, who was a prominent minister who helped influence the founding fathers, based on Judeo-Christian values. So that is the religion of our land. That is the God of Israel is who birthed and helped form the documents of this country. And we can't ever stray away from that. If you look in Texas, there's voluntary tribunes of Sharia law being placed now. Can you imagine right in Dearborn if that was to happen? We need to be aware of that, and we need to stand out against those things, not to alienate any people, but we want to make sure that it's clear we are not a nation to support Sharia law and foreign laws.
You know, and I'd like to say, you know, it's probably a little caustic comment here, but when we talk about getting our government to do whatever they should do, or what we expect them to do, or we want them to do, I feel like I won't go as far as saying they're the enemy, but they don't seem to be defending or have the same interests, perhaps, as we do. And that can be, you might say, well, what do we do now? Well, that's an opportunity for us to take some kind of action. Certainly there are people in government that can do things, that want to do things, and have influence, and I think we want to tap into those individuals and maximize our resources in that respect, but also understand that we may be on our own when it comes to this stuff. And, you know, what can we do? Again, the age-old question, what can we do? But expecting somebody, like, I appreciate what you're trying to do, you know, but it's very frustrating to hear you continually say, well, they're working on it, you know, and okay, let's take care of what's the word that we hear from Al Gore, you know, the temperature, climate control. Well, that's a big deal right now, right? Why don't we just put that on the shelf and take care of what's really going on,
along with the golfing? Yeah,
and all the it's just that passe, or just not passe, but just very casual. Everything's great. Well, I believe, my personal opinion, for what it's worth, I believe that in an effort to he's dismantling. Obama is dismantling what we have had. As much damage as he can do, as much inactivity as he can do, to put our country to take the strength that we've held on to for as long as our country's been around, and basically destroying, eroding. It's just going
from the inside. And this is something I'm teaching on. We spoke about how to bring awareness of what can we do. In my hometown of Flint, Michigan, I actually promote social bloggers, socials, and community committee meetings, and we go over this stuff. I mean, we talk about the threat to radical Islam, Sharia law. We discuss all of these things, the Obama agenda. Have you seen the documentary America? Imagine a world without her.
Yeah, I've not seen it.
There's quite a few things just concerning. When Obama first got in office, he stated, America is no longer a Christian nation. That was his first time getting elected. We let him get elected twice.
Exactly.
So you got to understand, I believe, and this is personally for me, God has allowed this to happen so we can wake up.
I believe that's true.
And if we don't understand, we have to take the reins and understand, I am a big person that believes in limited government. And the thing is, He's going to protect His own. Part of how we let this get in is because we allowed Obama to get in. That was part of the reason, and we let a lot of the Christians in the church ran away from good people like George Bush and his father and those type of things when they were going through the persecution. We all said we didn't want to to deal with Iraq. We didn't want to be there. Let's pull out. Well, now we see the ramifications, the consequences of doing that. God is very in control.
Oh,
He is King of Kings, Lord of Lords. God is going to raise, as he's doing now, a leader to address these things. But we have to support the leadership in which that is coming. So 2016 is a very important year in which we can change leadership and a course and a direction. There's been some horrible things that's happened, but God can restore. He can make, just as in a Jew's case, where we can look back and never forget these moments to save and preserve future generations. The Bible says we are to be salt and light. Iron sharpens iron, and sometimes it takes for things to happen for us to get stronger behind them. What the enemy meant for evil, God will turn into good. But now is the time for us to know now, politics is not something you take lightly. You don't just vote for someone because of their skin color. These are all things that have cost us in the end. I mean, if you look at Obama's pastor in the church in, I believe, Chicago or Illinois, he preached damnation on America. He was anti-colonialism. He preached the dogma in which the policies that you're seeing supported by Obama, this was already there. I mean, that evidence was there. And we still voted for Obama.
right, right.
And a lot of people can say, well, you know, it doesn't just all start with Obama. I agree. But we allowed something in the White House that had never been there before. And those perspectives to be spoken at that level, we see the damage that it can cause now.
I think that hopefully the good thing that would be the result of this, and you kind of alluded to it, but just that perhaps the American people and the Bible-believing Christian and the one who has eternal salvation because of their belief in Christ, or any American citizen would say, okay, we're not going to let that happen again. We need to be more aware of the different politicians and what they stand for and what they believe in, and hopefully we can be. I mean, being an activist for a particular goal is certainly admirable, but it can go in any direction. Really, being an if you're a Christian, we should be an activist for righteousness, and it doesn't mean that we, push it down people's throat. We have to live it out. Okay, we have to start by looking in the mirror and saying, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to change? What steps do I need to make? And that's where it starts. It starts in here, but then it comes out, and you be an example and an influence to others, and hopefully through that kind of change. You can only change yourself, okay? And as you change yourself, all those around you will be impacted by that. And I've certainly been just by talking with both of you, it makes me have more of acute awareness to start with. And so there's so much going on. Again, the irony, we live in this, if we can picture ourselves like the people like the Assyrian people, all of a sudden having to run out of our house because we're getting attacked. All we have is our clothes on our back and the family that we love with us, and we run away. Perhaps it's a bit difficult for us to understand what that would be like, but that's essentially what has happened. And thousands of people have been displaced and moved on, and they left everything, all their possessions, and all the things that they needed and had for so long that they were comfortable with and were living with, and now they have nothing. And
living in a tent.
Living in a tent somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and with theoretically nobody really doing anything to help them.
No, in the northern government, in the Kurdish government, they're constantly telling the United States, give us money, give us arms, we'll protect them. The central government saying the same thing, and nothing is happening. And that's why I am asking our administration and to fund and help support the Assyrians and fellow minorities directly. Direct it to them. Make sure it gets to them. Make sure they have a military to protect themselves. We can't depend on other militaries, because look at what happened when we did. There are so many, hundreds of Assyrian and Christian cities and Yazidis, villages that were abandoned. why weren't there any soldiers there? Where were they? You know, we have an entire government military that was nowhere to be found. You know, and I really, you know, I appreciate the Iraqi soldiers and what they're doing right now, but, you know, what we need, if the world truly wants to help us, we need our own province with our own military, that we will never drop our weapons no matter what happens. We will never abandon our people. We will never leave our churches to be blown up and detonated and burned. Historical churches, some of the churches were 800 years old. Some of them were so old they were halfway underground just through evolution, you know, and that's so sad to see. And actually, I've been broadcasting a very strong message to a lot of the leaders in the world that if you are standing by and not doing anything to stop this present-day Christian Holocaust and a Holocaust against humanity, then I'm sorry to say, but to me, you're as guilty as ISIS, because them committing these crimes hands-on and us standing by and watching it like we are at the Colosseum is as guilty as, you know, if you're standing in a theater and watching someone behead someone, wouldn't I be as guilty as them if I'm not doing anything to stop it? So that's the message we need to, and that's the pressure we need to put on our leaders. You know, I want to know where all those Christian presidents and leaders are in the world. You know, if I was in power to do something, I would not stop. I would, every day and night, I would do something or try to do something to stop this. Where are they? You know, it's almost like, it scares me, like, is this planned? Like, where are all the countries in the world and the presidents and the leadership and the administrations and the parliaments? You know, where are they while we're watching children get beheaded? You know, I am surprised they're not all outraged. How are they outraged? They need to show it. It's so easy to say it, but if you don't do anything, then you're contributing to these crimes.
Absolutely. If you're not taking some type of action to stop it, you're not causing it, but you're not preventing it. You're not you're not stepping in. I mean, there's sheep, there's wolves, and then there's sheepdogs. And so the sheep are the ones that are being persecuted. The wolves that are going after them. We need to be sheepdogs. Okay, we need to stop, protect the sheep, and attack the wolves, really, and keep the wolves at bay, keep them out, you know, keep them away, so that the sheep will be safe. And so that is our role. So strategically, we're running toward the end of our program here tonight. I can list some things. I think it's important to pray about what's going on. It doesn't start there. Certainly, to have hope. I mean, that's great. That kind of comes with this, you know, in our efforts to make a difference, as we are here far, far away from what's really going on. But our hearts would be challenged, I think, to do something. So pray, have hope, tell others. Strategically, though, money, it comes down to money, okay? It comes down to having the right contacts and having the right plan, right? Have you thought that perhaps the channels you've been going through, because they've been delayed, and there's so many delays, have you thought about other avenues to try to get something done? And what would you suggest?
Well, we've been, you know, through the lobbying and the protests and, you know, the different proposals, like, we've literally almost exhausted all options. We're just basically redoing everything that we've done before. And we're just being ignored. And actually, you know, it's almost come to a point where a lot of the people are like, maybe they just don't want to help us. You know, we're just being ignored. They don't want to help us. Maybe they want us out. And really, it's not physically possible to give asylum to that many people. So we have to, and it's not fair to them too, because essentially this is what ISIS wants. They want us removed off of our native lands, and they're taking advantage of us. They're bullying the people who don't have a military, who don't have any international protection. You know, putting a base there would be very important, and building a province for these ancient people, and not allowing, you know, putting pressure on the governments there that, you know, why did you allow these things to happen to these indigenous people? Where was your military when ISIS invaded with initially only that many 400 people? You know, these things should never happen in a country, especially when, you know, it was supported by the United States, and, you know, the government was helped by the United States, and, you know, they need to go in and put pressure on these parliaments and the regional government of northern Iraq and make them understand and implement the indigenous laws. You know, our laws that we have here to protect the native people, they need that title. The Assyrians, including our Chaldean and Syriac churches, and the Yazidis, you know, these were the only people who lived in those areas for thousands of years, and they have the indigenous title.
Here's what I'd like you to do. Can you look at that camera right there? And I want you to say those two, was it the websites that people can contact, and kind of spell them out a little bit? 'Cause
Yes.
I don't think we're going to have them on the screen. If you go ahead, and we're going to have Nahem on the camera here. And go ahead and say that.
Sure. The humanitarian websites are www.assyrianaid.org. That's ASSYRIAN aid.org. They're extremely helpful, and they've been hands-on since this happened and long before this happened, and you know, they definitely need more resources because they are running out. There's also a wonderful NGO, www.theacero.org. That's THEACERO.org. And they're extremely hands-on in both Iraq and Syria with all the hostage situations and the displaced people and the refugees that are refugees in their own countries. And there's also another one, www.helpiraq.org. And that's a wonderful organization too that's been helping the displaced people and the churches. And you know, we just ask also to call your congressmen and women, put the pressure on them to not forget the natives of Iraq, the Assyrians, the Christians of Iraq, and the Yazidis, the minorities, to demand the envoy to protect them, and also put pressure to support our military. We need things directly going to us, you know, because it appears that they're getting lost when they're sent to other governments.
So just get to those websites and then navigate through them, and then find out how we can get involved and get informed.
Yes, yes. There's definitely icons that, you know, you can click to contribute, and you know, they'll keep you updated too. There's also my social media that I keep all of my the supporters and the people that follow my pages all updated on the current events of what's happening. And you could actually look me up on Facebook, my first name, my last name, Nahren, and my last name Anweya. I have 2 pages that I constantly blog every day, and I have an Instagram account, and you know, I blog all the time and keep everyone updated. I have contacts on the ground in Iraq and Syria that give me the first-hand news on everything, and that's how I report to the media as well.
Fantastic. God bless you.
God bless you too.
Thank you. Darwin?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for being brave enough to come forth with this message and being an activist for this, because if you don't do it, who actually would? And we know there's quite a few others that I know who are involved in this movement. I have quite a few connections and things that I would like to invite you to be a part of.
Absolutely.
I do a lot of work with the Chaldean Chamber of Commerce. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Okay. And more importantly, there's going to be a state-level campaign to bring awareness to these issues. And I would like to invite you to be a part of that. And I can give you more information after the show in order to bring and make awareness. I'll be doing a lot of traveling throughout the state in the next 2 years, and I want to make sure we can have as many people to bring awareness to this as possible, because as Christians, those are my brothers, those are my sisters as well. And we're united in Christ, and we can make a difference.
Amen.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. It's been wonderful to be on the show with you tonight, both of you, and we're excited about what's going on. Certainly a challenge, many, many challenges ahead, but certainly we're on the I always say we're on the winning side. So, but we have to go out there and take the steps necessary to ascertain victory. So, and that's in many cases, that's done by watching programs like this, and you can always call us, again, like I mentioned before, 248-416-1300, and the trinitychannel.com. And stay tuned also in 10 days, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have the Apologetics Week, which for a whole week we'll have Christian apologists coming in, a great opportunity to get to know what's going on in the world in our world today, with all the turmoil, all the difficulty. We serve an awesome God who is totally in control despite all the chaos. So we are running out of time here. We're going to sign off. Both of you have a wonderful evening, wonderful weekend,
God
and all of
bless
you
both.
as well. And we're looking forward to getting back again next time. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
Apologetics Week, the week of March 16th to 21st. 3 shows per day. Over 30 world-renowned apologists. Shows on the deity of Christ, biblical doctrine, culture wars, Islam, other false religions, and world philosophies. Our guests include Alex Karimli, Christian apologist; Anthony Rogers, Christian apologist; Dr. Bill Warner, political Islam; Dr. Edward Dalcour, Department of Christian Defense; Dr. James Gauss, patriotic and Christian worldview blogger; Dr. James White, Alpha and Omega Ministries; Kamal Salim, Qum Ministries; Nani Darwish, former Muslims United; Tom Trento, the United West; Reverend Tony Costa, Christian apologist; Usama Dakdok, the Straight Way of Grace Ministry; Waleed Shubat, former PLO terrorist. Again,